Hey, what's up, investors? My name's Devin Moreno, and I am a Baltimore City investor. I own 17 properties in the Baltimore area, sort of range. And today I wanted to go into the fact that why I have partnerships owning a big percentage of those properties and how that has caused me significant problems just in the way that I did it. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying partnering in real estate is bad. In fact, it's very good. Many millionaire investors have partnered in real estate, but they do it in specific ways. Experienced investors generally know what they want, what they're doing, or they just do it in the form of profit shares. And we'll get into that. But I mean, a lot of new investors did what I did. They want to partner with another newer investor or maybe someone more experienced with this thought process of either they're afraid to do it alone or they think they don't have time to do it by themselves. And the time part is probably more easily solved. It's much easier to and better to just hire someone and maybe give them percentage profit splits in the company. This is very common. Very rarely do millionaires and billionaires own 100% of their business. Or receive profit 100%. But the decision making, oftentimes you want to leave them out of that if possible in your company. And as far as you being afraid, unfortunately, like all of business, it is going to be a little bit scary. But once again, you're probably better off learning it on your own, figuring out what you want on your own. So for those of you who still really aren't on board with this and you want to do a partnership, let me just tell you about the 4 experiences that I had, and maybe it'll help you avoid those pitfalls in the future. Because like I said, there are good ways to make a partnership work. So my first partner was actually vastly more experienced than I was in real estate. And that is pretty common. I was just starting out. And this is where I started learning strategy differences between his investing style and mine. So here's the problem with being a new investor and starting partnering is you have no idea what you want. Like, you think you do. You're like, I want, money, whatever, whatever works. But you're going to have different tolerances, all right? This is the reason, like, you have, people like Chandler David Smith, a channel I endorse here heavily on this channel. I even have links to his course in my description, my video below. He teaches apartment complexes. I think that's great. It's a strategy that works for him. But, that's what he likes. And so I teach rooming houses. I teach this all the time to people. I enjoy that strategy for young professionals. And then you have people like Graham Stephan, whom does single family homes, or, you have some where, Rob Built, he has Airbnb, vacation rentals, such. So everyone has their own little different strategies. My partner enjoyed getting properties in all areas of Baltimore City. And there's a lot of harsh areas in Baltimore City where we bought properties in, and I really wasn't a fan. I did a couple of these and I'm like, I really don't want to do this. Well, he loved those. He loved the cheap properties that you can just gobble up, really fast. I just really, the managing in those areas and dealing with a lot of the elements that you get from buying properties in those areas, I just wasn't into it. So I've changed up my strategy and I want something different, but that completely halted our experience. It halted our investment because that's what he liked to do. And so that was one major thing that I learned from that partnership is you may not know what you want to do until you start. And then now you have a conflict within the business because you want to do things different ways. The next one, partner that I had, I was vastly more experienced than them. So this is a changing the dynamic. And what I ended up learning through this is something actually my first partner learned dealing with me. And that is you are going to be paying for their education. Now, you might think to yourself, well, you're a more experienced investor. Why don't they just listen to you and do what you say? Well, the problem is all that teaching takes a lot of time. Remember that I've spent years gathering my experience in real estate, and you can't impart all of that wisdom onto someone very quickly. Plus, most people learn through experience, not by being lectured. And so my partner was making lots of mistakes that cost us thousands of dollars. And that's unfortunate. It is what it is. You're going to be paying for that experience. Also, getting them to understand things, how it's supposed to be done, it can be a pain in the butt. For example, with me and that one partner, they weren't very experienced with bookkeeping. And that was a big trigger point with me because with my previous partnership, I didn't understand bookkeeping, and I really screwed up a lot of the books, a lot of our numbers, because of my poor record keeping, and it really burned me. Now, this partner was burning me because of their poor bookkeeping. So this was something that I kept having to pay for. Their education, the mistakes they would make could cost us thousands when dealing with contractors or tenants, and you end up wanting to do it all yourself. You'll start as the experienced investor being like, you know what, if you have the time, I'm just going to do everything. You end up doing 90% of the work for 50% of the results, 50% of the pay. And it just leaves a sour taste in your mouth until you're just like, all right, I'll wait till they become more experienced. The problem with that is experience generally grows on a hockey stick curve. I can learn real estate faster than somebody else because I already am experienced with it. It's much easier to learn more in a subject when you already know that subject. So now, once they've caught up to where I am now, I'm miles ahead in this subject once again. And so it keeps creating that curve effect. Now, there is a way around this, and I think that was better demonstrated in my third partnership. So in my third partnership, they were a lot better of a dynamic in the fact that they provided the money and I provided the skill sets. And that was great. A lot of JV arrangements actually start that way, and I would recommend it that way as long as there's only one sole decision maker. The problem was that partner also wanted to contribute to the business. By this point, it was very clear and obvious they were not skilled in construction like I was at this point. They didn't understand, you know, the processes of loans or real estate strategy. They didn't understand the numbers, and they just really didn't get it. And that just wasn't their skill set. And they were very annoyed at themselves. They couldn't contribute much more than just simply being the pocketbook. Well, eventually they did find out and learn a different skill in short-term rentals. They started learning that, and I don't know anything about that. Traveling nurses and such. We started opening up Airbnbs, and that was a strategy difference. Keep in mind, another strategy difference where they liked these short-term rentals, and I was completely brand new to that. And they started really skyrocketing in that direction. We're perfect. Now I can use my construction experience to build the homes, and then they can use their experience in short-term rentals to renovate, to run and operate the home for a higher cash flow, higher reward. This is a more ideal type of partnership, but it did take us a long time to get there. Probably about a year before we started discovering that skill set. Until then, it was kind of just a lot of tension. So this is something that if you're going to do a partnership, that's the reason, once again, inexperienced investors, you won't know what you're good at. But as you keep going, you're going to start to realize you're better at certain things than your partner is. And you're just going to really hope as a new investor that you're not better at just everything than your partner is, because then that's where you get some, you know, real tension. Again, once again, you don't know because you both don't know what you're doing. So, but if you do get to that point, it is good if you can find out, hey, they're really good at this thing. And also as a caveat, that partner was also much better at bookkeeping than was record keeping, licensing, all the paperwork side. I'm just terrible at it. So they were a lot better at that, and great, that partnership works out much better. Now, my fourth partnership is more of a lesson of not just making it work for you in the best of times. You also have to make sure it works in the worst of times too. So my business partner had no money, and essentially I decided to take on 100% of the cost. And because I also was better at construction, I also was going to take on 100% of that work. And I'm also better at property management, so I'll go ahead and do that. And I'm also better at tenant placement, I'll do that. And we were going to make rooming houses, and because I was better at that, I'll do that too. And you're starting to see the trend here. 90% of the work, 50% of the profit. Well, what were they good at? They were really good at finding deals. I'm not very good at finding deals. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, they'll keep finding the deals and I'll keep knocking them down. Not a big deal. We'll go ahead and make it way out of favor of me. For now, we actually did a 60-40 split. And, you know, and I knew they would just keep bringing in deals over time. They would be the deal flowing machine. Well, the problem was, this happened just before I started getting into a really bad financial state. And I talked about that in one of my videos, but it was going really bad for me. And then these mortgages on homes that we were purchasing, I couldn't afford them as much anymore. And so I just asked for a little bit of help, but they said they couldn't help me. And that leaves a big sour feeling where I feel like almost, all right, now I'm withering this storm, having to pay for everything because that was the deal that we made, that I would pay for everything. And then when it got bad, the deal had to change, and you know, they feel it's unfair for them to change the terms of the deal just because my situation got bad. So I had to make sure the deal worked for me under the worst of times too, because under this deal, there is zero incentive for them to even try, right? Like, because they take a risk, essentially. So you have to make sure everyone is incentivized appropriately and that the deal would work for you even under really stressful times. And that is something new investors may not know how to do or may not know how to plan for. And that's something I had to learn the hard way. And from all of these experiences, I just decided, you know what, partnerships are not for me. And I decided to go off on my own. And a final thing about partnerships that really kind of threw me off is the different monetary thresholds that get raised. So imagine me and you were in a partnership, and we both agree that, all right, we're going to save 3 months of reserves for every single mortgage that we have in the partnership. Well, great, you save 3 months, but the problem is I have 4 different partnerships. So I have all these different thresholds. And as mentioned in my first partnership, it's holding houses that make like no money. So I've never been able to profit whatsoever from those houses. I've literally never drawn on them. And then my third partnership is where we have the highest income producing, mixed in probably with my second one, but they can't help each other. Like I can't increase the thresholds with these high income producing properties mixed in with these lower income because they're totally different partnerships. And so the first set of houses, I mean, literally they might as well not exist for me. And so these different pots, these different thresholds created a unique conundrum where I'm actually only being paid by a percentage of my portfolio. Not a big deal. Okay, I can just simply wait until I sell them and make a huge equity share out of it. You know, sure, we'll work those details out. But these are a lot of the things about partnering I didn't think about. So I wanted to make sure you all know about all these different elements of partnering and why I don't recommend it for new investors. I think that, you know, as a new investor, you're probably too inexperienced to know all of these pitfalls early on. But hopefully you can make it work if you're watching this and you're probably thinking about starting a partnership. And I can say, you know, for most new investors, it doesn't work out very well. But best of luck to you and your partnership. But if you have any questions about all this, comment below, let me know, and I'll talk to you all very soon.